it talks about having some kids, and their father's not a believer, and they brought him to FRC. It says, when do you draw the line as to when they should stop attending and making decisions on their own? Is it the old saying, as long as you're under my roof and house? It's just so hard sometimes when they have one foot in and one foot out. I think as long as you have influence in your kid's life, you move them in that direction. And I think it takes more work if they don't want to be a part of it. It means conversation. It's more than just saying you're going to church with me. I think you do have to do that, but I think you have to continue to have discussions during the week about the difference in being a God follower and the difference in being having your own relationship with God. I mean, I think, you know what I'm saying? It's not just getting up on Sunday and saying, hey, get in the car, we're going. I think you have to do that. I mean, I think, and again,
And Troy, I think, when I first saw this, I thought about your family, and I think your mom did, because it was the same situation. Your mom was a believer, your dad wasn't, and, even until you guys, became teenagers, and your dad did, come to accept Christ, but, maybe you could share how, because, I think your mom has done an exceptional job with that.
Mom tired, but Mom always got us up. Guys, we were going to church, and we were going to go, and that's back in the day. You had Sunday morning, Sunday night, you had Wednesday night, you had all those kind of things. And of course, me and my brothers were all at different places spiritually. We couldn't wait to go, and there were weeks where Mom just said, we're going. But there were also discussions in the kitchen table. There were, things that happened all week long that Mom would bring, God into it, and try to get us to step up to the table. And I remember even as when I was a student pastor, and it was like MTV was just coming out. It's like, should you watch it and everything? And instead of just getting up and saying you shouldn't watch this and this stuff, they're dressed and they're singing and everything, I bring a video to the church. I just bring, it's a little country church, and I just get a video and I bring it to the church, and I'd play it, and I'd ask them in that context, you guys think we ought to be watching this? And in the church, it just seemed so out of place. And you know what? It wasn't me telling them they shouldn't watch it. It was them or their friends saying, And then, you know what? That haunted them. They could disqualify what do I know? I'm old. I'm blah, 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 blah. So I think you got to really pray through and think about how to include your kids so that they're making this decision themselves, but you're guiding them all the way. And I think if it does come down to it, I would still, put my foot down and say, you're going.
I totally agree. Here's what I would encourage you to do. If you have influence in their life, as Troy said, you make them go. Pastor Garland used to always say, pay now or pay later. And it may be a battle, but fight it. That's what I would encourage you to do. It's worth fighting for. But let me encourage you to do these things. The student ministry, whether it's Chad or Holly, man, they've got great adult leaders that truly love kids. Talk to them. Walk over as a mom or dad and say, here's my situation, could you help? Because I can't tell you how many times that a mom and dad has come and did that to me and said, Matt, can you help me with the situation? And then I make an extra effort to that student. They didn't know we had a conversation. All of a sudden, somebody besides their mom or dad is talking about God or church, and they get plugged in. You get them with the right leader based on their personality, and you see that change. But if they're in college, we have the Elevate ministry, meets on Tuesdays at 6. If they're little, use your influence. Just don't give up, because God used me to reach my mom and dad.
Right.
And so that is so huge. So don't let them sleep in, man.
Maybe trying to get them to camp or a mission trip. Whatever they're interested in.
Her name is Jeanette. I feel like I can really understand and speak to this because basically she's on an uphill battle because her and her husband are on different pages about this. And I can definitely relate to this because I'm on an uphill battle myself. Their mom doesn't really take them to church anymore. And for me, it's a challenge because then they're so used to not going to church. Then they come back, they don't want to go to church. So what I've had to do is just like both of you said was, I had to find ways how to influence, in my house. And that means that sometimes they've got to see me praying. they've got to see me doing stuff naturally. It's not, and because I felt that sometimes if I force it on them, yeah, there's times that I just gotta say, you know what, I'm sorry, we're going. But then there's this fine line, especially when you have so little time with them. You know, in my case, I have the split custody, so I got little time, so I gotta be even more consistent and find ways to not crush them with it, but that infiltrate them. So what I've done is like I found hip hop music, that they can. I'll play it in the car when I really want to listen to my kind. I'll play it for them. It's Christian hip hop or something that relates to them. I found and taking time to read with them. But even when you're tired, you gotta force yourself to kind of infiltrate their world, and hopefully they'll just grab onto it. And they've got to. The only thing I can say, to fight the battle is let them see you first.
Yeah.
You've got to be the.
And it's worth it. There's some things worth fighting for, and I think that's a good
You
statement.
said something though that I think is so important, and it was my secret strategy with dealing with students one-on-one a lot of times, is if the student thinks that the decision is their idea, they're so much more apt to walking that lifestyle. And I would lead them. I would lead them through specific questions to get them to come to a predetermined thought, because I wanted them to think, what if you did this? And all of a sudden, instead of someone preaching to them or telling them what they're going to do, I'm just sitting there saying, now what happens if you date this person, or if you go here, and making them think about because students live in the 15 minutes before and after, right? And they don't think about next week or when they're 28 years old. They're thinking about right now, does he or she like me, and am I popular? And I just want to get them to think sometimes. And a lot of times when you do that, they're like, duh.
Or make them say their thoughts. A lot of times, because that even works like dealing with somebody that's an atheist or something.
Yeah, that's good.
Is to ask them, what do you believe? Because a lot of times what happens is we allow ourselves to get on the defense, and we're always defending what we believe, and it's a lot easier to attack somebody else's statement than to say what you believe. And when you're dealing with somebody that doesn't believe in God or some of those things, sometimes just to say, well, let's what do you believe? And then I've had people actually stop and say, you just get frustrated because what they're saying doesn't even make sense,
Scott Pratt was telling me the other day, he's one of our leaders in our middle school ministry. He has a son. His son didn't like something that he had done as a dad. He said, okay, you're the dad, what do you do? And he didn't like to play that game. And another funny one real quick, he told me that, the boys are walking around, when their boxers are showing from their pants, so they're walking in Publix the other day, and he pulled his tidy whities up real high. And he goes, Dad, what are you doing? He goes, I'm being cool, man. And he goes, you can't do that. And he goes, well, you're doing it. So, you got to mess with them, man. It's fun. It's fun.
Get creative.
Yeah, get creative.
We got somebody shouting out to us from New York. We've got a couple saying, thanks, Matt and Jen, for just being real when it comes to the whole idea of sexual relationship.